don't believe it unless you see it. Well, now even seeing it, can you truly believe it? And I find that frightening. We're training our own replacements.
I actually invested in a closed-end high encryption system. Everything I put in my AI stays local and no one else has access to it.
If you look at videos, what a young 12-year-old right now doing, how many steps they're doing, is a skincare routine, it's frightening.
What if you look for another job and you have certain techniques or processes that you've developed and you want to bring to a different company? If it's all recorded in this company's system, then they might make a claim that those are company trade secrets and you can't act the way that you would normally act in a new job.
The prompts are so important. That's where the human ingenuity comes in. I'm asking questions that I know other people aren't asking. That's really your main intellectual property.
This is Real AI Use Cases Business Owners Roundtable with hosts Elizabeth Gearhart, podcast consultant, marketing expert, and PhD researcher using AI every day, and Richard Gearhart, entrepreneur, seasoned business owner, and intellectual property attorney specializing in innovation. Here's how real companies are using AI right now.
Now it is time for Real AI Use Cases. I'm going to ask everybody here for one really favorite way they're using AI. And then after everybody says one way, we're going to go around and just talk about all the different ways we're using AI, because if somebody's using it one way, they're using it a million ways, right? So I'm going to start with Thomas Farley. What is one really cool way you're using AI?
I do a weekly segment called Mr. Manners Mondays, and I need a backdrop I'm doing a green screen for, and I need a backdrop that's perfectly synchronized with what my content is going to be. I use Midjourney to create an image, whether it's the slopes of Greenland, whether it's an auditorium in Los Angeles. These are images I could not find on any stock image website, but my imagination is limitless on these things, and it helps my audience visualize. And I'm literally in front of a green vinyl tablecloth that's swapped out with an image, a green screen setting on my Zoom platform. And so I use AI to create those fantastical images that are behind me in my segments.
That's great. A great way. Lauren Paxton, what's one way that you're using AI?
I really use AI to make my business, my software work for me. For me, it's a bridge to use solutions that I wouldn't use on my own. So for example, I love to dictate and process externally. So if I'm preparing for a presentation or a program, I'll dictate and spell out everything I'm planning to say. I'll put it through my AI system and shoot out a PowerPoint with worksheets and prefab designs and agendas. So I'm just spending the time doing the work I do well, and I let AI do the rest.
Well, and that's really smart that you're doing that, because it gets to know your voice then. You're feeding it your content.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
Eva Kerschbaumer, what's one way you're using AI?
Thank you for asking this question. I was actually very nervous about when this whole thing was coming out about it. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be needed. Are they going to do facials without me? And are they just going to tell advice? And I use it as a tool. I'm an educator also, so it helps with the younger audience to talk to them in a different way. And also matching skin to foundations. And if there is it's called a diagnostic. When there's something looks suspicious on the skin, there's some apps that you could take a picture and send it to your dermatologist and look at it together so we're not worried about it. Hey, is that something that I need to be calling 911? Or is it going to be okay just for my next appointment? And that's why I love it. I use it all the time.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Richard Gearhart, what's one way that you're using AI?
I have been following the news a bit lately, and there's, I guess, a case is coming up for trial at the Federal Trade Commission against Amazon. They're using AI to control pricing. And the net result of this seems to be that prices are going up rather than maintaining this competitive market that we all hoped would be there. And what they're doing is they're going out and they're checking on competitive pricing. And anytime a competitor lowers their price, they lower their price that the consumer sees. Or if the competitor raises the price, they raise the price. And so they assume that because there's like 200 million people using Amazon, that they're just going to order from Amazon instead of going to another competitor. And this really has a negative impact on, small businesses, small startups, because they can't compete with the Amazon experience, right? And it's really difficult. So it's AI, and it's connected to me because I use Amazon, and I hope that the Federal Trade Commission does something to fix this, because I really do feel like consumers are losing out because of these tactics, and it's all because of AI.
Yes. And me, Elizabeth Gearhart, I've been using it for research. I'm researching something I really want to try. So I don't know if you guys have heard of HeyGen, where you can make a video clone of yourself. And I have a studio, Gear Media Studio, so I have the cameras and mics. And as I said, Maggie's joined me in the studio. So we're going to be talking. And what you do is you do a video of yourself, but you try to capture all your facial expressions. So you do want to kind of have a conversation with somebody, and then we can filter her out with our editing software. And then, so we're going to do that and then edit it and then put it into HeyGen and then hopefully make a pretty decent video clone of me. And then what am I going to do with that?
We don't know. Can we really be blessed with two Elizabeths?
That's not what Andy at the law firm said. He said the world doesn't want two of you. So that wasn't very good manners, was it?
There. Yeah, that was my good manners
on Andy.
comment.
I know. But no, I'm going to do short videos for YouTube Shorts. And I'm going to do a tip a day. And then what they're saying now is you can do that, but you have to intersperse some that aren't your clone doing your shorts for your media and stuff. But what you do is you type in what you want it to say. It can be like 30 seconds, I think. And then it's just like you talking. And then once it gets, I want to learn this now, because once it gets better, I'm going to send it to the Gearhart Law meetings and have it sit in for me.
Lucky us.
Just kidding.
Nobody can replace you, dear.
Just kidding.
But seriously, I mean, is this the path we want to go down? Because I feel like when people go to YouTube, they want to hear the person that they're going to be dealing with. I agree it's a marketing tactic, but I want people to know who I am, right? And how closely is the AI clone going to replicate that?
Well, we'll find out. And I mean, there's two types of clones, right? There's the one like Lauren's sort of starting to do, where you put all your content in and it clones your thoughts, right? Like there are people that are doing that right now.
But this is going to clone your face,
your visage and your mannerisms,
and all of that. Yeah,
yeah. And it's apparently, according to HeyGen, the software is very carefully guarded, so that somebody can't
use it
for inappropriate reasons. Yeah, that's another risk, right?
Yeah. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
It concerns me a little bit. I think we're living in an age where AI has gotten so close to reality. It's very difficult to determine. And, it used to be, don't believe it unless you see it. Well, now even seeing it, unless you're seeing it with your own eyes in person, can you truly believe it? And I find that frightening. Now, this use case, it sounds fun, but in a way, I almost feel like we're training our own replacements. And I know one thing I've been reading about quite a bit is for corporate employees who are mandated to be using, whether it's Copilot or Gemini at the office, that those same learning models are actually learning you and learning how you do your job, so that ultimately that becomes the IP. Your interactions with the AI at the corporation becomes the owned content of the corporation, so that when they need to either train your replacement or completely eliminate your job, they've got all of your prompts, your thought process, your hierarchies. So what I've read is if you must use AI at work, use it on your own personal devices and then input whatever answers, but don't include your prompts on your work desktop station, because you're training your replacement.
Well, and the prompts are so important. I feel like that's where the human ingenuity comes in, because with my prompts, sometimes like I'm asking questions that I know other people aren't asking, and I'm asking them a different way. And that's really your main intellectual property, right? Or the prompts you come up with.
Unless the company owns it and takes it and says, thanks, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, and it goes beyond that. What if you look for another job and you have certain techniques or processes that you've developed and you want to bring to a different company? If it's all recorded in this company's system, then they might make a claim that those are company trade secrets.
That's right.
And you can't act the way that you would normally act in a new job.
That's right.
I hadn't even thought of that, Thomas.
I mean, that's
frightening.
frightening.
that is really scary.
So, Lauren, thoughts?
Yeah, so I looked at this question closely before I started using it, and I actually invested in a closed-end high encryption system for myself because I wanted to make sure everything I put in my AI stays local with me and no one else has access to it. It's not even being used anonymously to train the AI that I'm using. And so everything I have, I at least have, in theory, some sort of ring fence around. Yeah, because I don't know the extent of what can be done.
Well, I started looking. Richard was watching a video and they talked about OpenClaw. Have you heard of OpenClaw? Yeah, it's an AI agent that goes, but it reads everything on your computer. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then it goes out to the LLMs online and shares all your information. But you can get, I think what you're talking about, this is similar. You can get an LLM that lives on your hard drive of your computer.
Yep.
That is not on the internet.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you, Eva? Thoughts?
So for me, I do love it for education reason, but I am concerned because it's also too perfect. So if we think about pictures, for example, our youth and women in my age, like we can't, imperfections are there. It's not like your anti-aging is longevity. You are beautiful who you are, but when these AI pictures showing the skin flawless and our youth is thinking this is what they're supposed to look like, they overwashing, they overusing chemicals on their skin. And it's just, if you look at videos, what a young 12-year-old right now doing, how many steps they're doing is a skincare routine, it's frightening.
That's awful.
It is. And so, yes, it is for me, like I said, education-wise is great. I use it, but it's also extremely scary for me.
It's a really interesting point because like television set a standard for us. Before television, things were quote normal, I guess. But then when TV came into play, everybody started thinking that people acted and lived in houses like on TV.
Correct.
And that sort of set a standard for what people considered to be normal. And now with AI, that standard's getting even higher. When you have all of these software algorithms perfecting everything, I think that's going to be tough to live in this world.
Yes.
And people are only going to want the perfection. So, it's just a very interesting issue. And
I don't know. I think it might be a pendulum swing. It might be like Thomas was alluding to, that people are just going to want to go see each other in person, right?
Eventually, we're going to give up, let AI run the world, and hang out, and you have karma.
And they'll be like, "Oh, you have a zit on your nose. You're a real person."
Thank God, I found somebody with a real blemish. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, this has been Real AI Use Cases.
You have been listening to Real AI Use Cases Business Owners Roundtable. We hope you found this valuable. Join us again for more stories. Because the future of business is driven by AI. This podcast was recorded at the iHeart Studios in Manhattan as part of the Passage to Profit radio show.